I'm going to read another brief excerpt from this book, Simply A Course in Miracles. This is available on Amazon if you're interested. Alawa Alani is the author. That's my pen name. There's a section in the book where I bring in quotes from some of the great mystics and thinkers of the past. And I've done videos now on Shankara, Adi Shankaracharya, and Meister Eckhart. And I did a video on Shakespeare. Today I'm gonna read some quotes from Saint Teresa of Ávila. She was a Spanish Carmelite mystic from the 16th century. She wrote a couple major books on mysticism, on Christian mysticism. Saint John of the Cross was also a member of her order. He was younger. Saint Teresa of Ávila is considered to be one of the great Christian mystics of all time. I think, it's definitely helpful to look at some of the things she said in light of A Course in Miracles, and also to think of what came through Helen Schucman in the mid-60s. The A Course in Miracles, she scribed this whole course coming to her directly from Jesus, apparently, and it bears great resemblance to some of the things we find in some of these mystics, Christian mystics, such as Saint Teresa of Ávila, and also mystics of all cultures and times. If you look at the perennial philosophy, what has been called the perennial philosophy of the world, so many of these ideas are shared by the mystics. So let's read what this one Christian mystic, Saint Teresa, had to say. Some of the things, these are just some of her, just a few quotes, really. But they're very pertinent and could be helpful. So here we go. Let nothing perturb you, nothing frighten you. All things pass. God does not change. Patience achieves everything. Read that one more time. Let nothing perturb you, nothing frighten you. All things pass. God does not change. Patience achieves everything. There's a great line in Course in Miracles, which is, and now it is for you to learn that only infinite patience brings immediate results. So we're going to the point of infinite patience. Infinite patience aligns with this idea that everyone, not only will everyone be saved, will everyone be free, even if it doesn't look like that right now, but everyone already is free, actually. It's not that this is something we have to attain, it's more something we just have to remember, that we are already free, right? That separation from God never happened. God has never changed, and thus we have never changed. And so when I have some problem with someone else, I'm basically saying that problem can have an effect on God, right? But no, that whatever that problem is, that problem will pass. Whatever thing that person that I'm concerned for that person about, that thing will pass as well. And everyone will go home. I need not be perturbed by anything, right? I need not be disturbed or bothered or upset by anything. The closer one approaches to God, the simpler one becomes. The closer one approaches to God, the simpler one becomes. So truth is simple. And as we get closer to the truth and embody the truth and become the truth ourselves, we also become simple, right? And Jesus makes it very simple in the Course. He says there's really only two things. There's only love and there's fear. Those two choices are always before us, and the choice is very easy because only love is real. Fear is not real at all. The ego is nothing. So it is a very simple choice when you start to understand it that way. And everything becomes simple and easy when you start to recognize that that choice is always there in every moment. And then you will arrive at the simple truth, and you will become simple yourself, simple in truth. We need no wings to go in search of him, but have only to look upon him present within us. We need no wings to go in search of him, meaning God, but have only to look upon him within us. Him present within us. Him present within us. So we only need to know that God is within us. We do not need to attain, like I said, we do not need to attain anything. All we need to do is to see that God is already there. God is everywhere. God has never changed. It is we that, as Meister Eckhart said, is we that have gone out for a walk. God is at home. God is present in the eternal present, and it is upon us to find that, to know that again. Pain is never permanent. This is a short one. Pain is never permanent. Pain and suffering. You might have heard this, the quote, pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. The Course would say both pain and suffering are optional. Even pain, it is not pain if you are in a place of love. You do not feel pain, and you do not feel suffering. And it's an incredible thought, and it is a reality. I'll give you one example. This is not a great example. Well, many people know what it feels like to be in love. When you're in love, everything is pure and simple and holy and kind, right? The world is that way. You are that way. Your beloved is that. The world is that way. And then we get out of love, we fall out of love, and we go back into the ego, and we experience pain and suffering once again. I'll give you another example that I was going to give, though, which is when you're, like, say you're dancing, and you hurt your foot while you're dancing. Well, you don't feel that you hurt your foot, right? You only feel it later, after you stop dancing. But when you were dancing, you didn't feel that. you were enjoying the dancing. So, but this is also saying all things pass. All things pass. This too shall pass. Pain is never permanent. Suffering is not permanent. We all get to go home. We will all be liberated. We will all know our eternal reality once again. It is love alone that gives worth to all things. It is love alone that gives worth to all things. Now, the Course generally puts it just a little differently. It says it is love. If Jesus in the Course put this into words, he would say it is love alone that gives meaning to all things, or it is love alone that gives purpose to all things. It's the same thing, though, right? It's the same idea. Otherwise, things are meaningless, right? God did not create a meaningless world, though. So everything is full of God's purpose. Everything is full of God's meaning. Everything is full of God's worth. It is foolish to think that we will enter heaven without entering into ourselves. It is foolish to think that we will enter heaven without entering into ourselves. Right? We have to find the truth within ourselves, and then we will find heaven, our eternal reality. Now, I think that's what she means here, because heaven, there can be heavenly realms as well, but those are not the eternal reality, right? Here, I think she's talking about heaven as God's eternal reality. We're not going to find God's eternal reality without going within ourselves. And the Course would add, we're not going to find God's eternal reality as long as we hold anything against our brother, right? As long as we have not arrived at a place of complete forgiveness, we also will not know our true self again. Trust God that you are exactly where you are meant to be. Trust God that you are exactly where you are meant to be. This is a very important concept, a very important idea that can save us a lot of time if we would only believe it, which we don't generally. We think that there is not a divine unfolding happening, but if we were to have it in our mind that everything is unfolding just as it needs to, always, everything is teaching us something. If we don't like what we're seeing, then we just need to change that to say, well, this is happening. This must be happening for some reason which I cannot understand, that God is putting this before me right now to help me and wants to show me something. And there are several places, at least in the Course, where Jesus says, chance does not play a part in God's creation, right? There's a purpose to everything. There is no coincidences. There are no coincidences. Everyone you meet, everything that happens is part of the divine unfolding. In light of heaven, the worst suffering on earth will be seen to be no more serious than one night in an inconvenient hotel. This is kind of a funny one. In light of heaven, the worst suffering on earth will be seen to be no more serious than one night in an inconvenient hotel. It's kind of like getting at the tiny mad idea, right? There's this tiny mad idea that we could be separate, and that we could, and that entails suffering, right? Separation entails suffering. And from our point of view, there is this idea of the problem of suffering. Is that, like, how could God allow suffering? How could God allow, let's just think today, with, for example, what's happening in places like Gaza, how could God allow innocent children to suffer in that way, or people, anyone to suffer, to be so hungry and to be in fear of their lives and what other kind of torture and other things are happening? How could God allow that? And what Teresa of Ávila is saying here is that all of that is in the end, we will see that is really nothing. Now, many people have a very hard time with this, and I understand that, and I wouldn't. I can see both sides of this. There are many sides maybe to this, but theologians have been debating this for ages now. But this is Teresa of Avila's take on it, based on her own inner experience, and she, for all we know, she was deeply connected, and she really had an in. She really knew, because she had done the practice, she had done the work herself, and she even was given sainthood. Well, that doesn't mean anything, famous rock musicians have as well. But anyway, I think these voices are worth listening to, especially in light of A Course in Miracles. And for the skeptic, this will not be sufficient. But for those who are into the spiritual way of seeing things, and are mystics and have already had some spiritual experience, these things maybe make more sense. So anyway, I hope this was helpful, and I will keep doing these readings. The book, again, is called Simply A Course in Miracles. It's available on Amazon. Alao Alani is the author. I don't make a lot on these books, by the way, but I just wanted to make this book available. I think this is a nice little introduction. It's a simple way of putting A Course in Miracles for the new person who wants to try to start to understand it. So thanks for listening, and I'll see you very soon. Again, thanks.